Hey!
What up, everybody? It's been some time.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Been a
Life
while.
got in the way. The flow of things had just kind of river ran and overflowed. But hey, we're here. We're doing our thing. We're trying our hardest. We're here
Back to read more.
for week 4 after many weeks of not being here. Try to stay more persistent. We're gonna try and stay diligent with it and try to actually give you the promise that we promised you. So today is really cool. We have I almost drowned taking a shower. Now the location of this place is undisclosed
Classified.
to protect the identity of the person that we're going to learn about today. So I'm gonna hand it over to her. She's gonna give you a little intro and go into the reading.
Alright, so day number 4, y'all, ladies and gentlemen. I almost drowned taking a shower. Sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? Alright, so we've got Hussein, part 1, as we mentioned, in a classified, undisclosed country, super secret, in the year 2009. And to begin with, Hussein is not his real name. He lives in Iran, but we met in another country willing to grant visas to both Iranians and Americans. Hussein grew up in a strict Islamic home. His mother was a devout Muslim, reading the Quran and praying 5 times a day in the prescribed fashion. His father was not as devout, but if anyone suggested he wasn't a very good Muslim, he would become very angry, even violent. He would beat Hussein's mother, and their marriage teetered on the brink of divorce. After completing the mandatory military service, Hussein returned home. As jobs were hard to come by, instead of finding one, he joined an old friend in a counterfeiting operation, a crime punishable by death under Iran's strict penal system. But he and his friend didn't get caught, and Hussein's income went up, up, up. His was a life of debauchery, women, drugs, parties. Such activities might numb his pain for a moment, but none filled the emptiness he sensed inside. He and his friend, of course, had a disagreement, and Hussein found himself out of the counterfeiting business. Suddenly, his income was 0.
Zip, nada, all gone, brother.
But his drug addiction didn't end when his income did. Hussein was miserable. He began to make plans to kill himself. I wanted to die, he told me, but I didn't want it to hurt. He decided to get high on ecstasy, then jump off the roof of a tall building. He found an appropriate building and even a way to sneak up to the building's roof. Now, all he needed was the drugs. When he was looking for this final score, an old army buddy called Hussein. He would be visiting Hussein's town and hoped to meet up. Over coffee, Hussein's buddy had said he found something new. Hussein's ears perked up. What he thought he heard was that his friend had discovered some new drug, and Hussein was certainly looking for drugs. Instead, his friend told him that he found Christ. That friend sent Hussein a New Testament, and he read the book of Matthew. But that first reading didn't make much sense to him. When his friend came back to town, he brought other Christians to meet Hussein. They met in a local park on a beautiful sunny day. One of them, a woman named Padina, had also struggled with drugs and depression and had also made a plan to kill herself. The Christians really listened to Hussein and sympathized with the pain in his life. Looking him right in the eye, Padina asked if Hussein would like to give his pain to Jesus. Hussein didn't feel like he had anything to lose. If Jesus didn't work out, he reasoned he could still decide to kill himself. Why not pray with them? What could it hurt? But when he prayed to Jesus and he asked him to take control of his life and to take all his pain, something amazing happened. Instantly, he felt lighter. Hussein told me that he felt unexplainable happiness after praying to receive Christ. Hussein's life began to change. He quit the drugs, he quit the drinking, the cigarettes. Seeing the dramatic change in his life, both his brother and sister accepted Christ. Church leaders noticed Hussein's witness and identified him as a potential leader in the church. Hussein sensed God's call to further ministry. He fought against it, though, trying hard to tune it out.
That's the question that we're going to be going over.
Yeah, we got questions after this. We're doing it a little bit differently, as y'all can tell.
You're going to see.
With the reading. With God's help, he'd beaten addiction, he'd rebuilt his life, he had a good legal job, he had a car and a house. He was willing to serve the Lord, partly. Couldn't he serve the Lord and keep his comfort and steady income? The church group could even meet at his house. 18 months later, Hussein was part of a group of Christians that went on a retreat to the sea. The sea wasn't really Hussein's favorite spot. He told me sarcastically just how good a swimmer he is. I almost drowned just taking a shower. But as he stood on the beautiful beach, the water seemed calm and shallow, and he stepped in. And then he stepped in a little further, and a little further still. The tide dragged him out, and Hussein found himself underwater, clawing for the surface, terrified. In his panic, he silently cried out to God, admitting that he didn't want to die because he had never answered the call to work wholly for him. The man who once planned to jump off a tall building now didn't want to die without answering God's call. God answered his prayer. Hussein described it like feeling hands lift him to the surface and hold his head out of the water. Seeing his panic, 3 lifeguards went in and pulled him out, saving his life. Afterward, as he shivered in a blanket on the beach, they told him, "We could see that you had your head up out of the water, so we knew you were a strong swimmer. If you hadn't been such a strong swimmer, we never would have gone after you because you would have dragged us down." Hussein just looked at them.
Do what?
He was thankful for their help, but he knew what really happened. God had saved him from certain death. Hussein answered God's call to full-time ministry. When he first told the church leaders, they told him he was emotional from his near-death experience. They advised he wait and pray about it for a few weeks before making a final decision. Hussein insisted that he was ready to give up everything to serve the Lord. He quit his job, even after his boss offered him a promotion. He sold his car and paid his debts and prepared for a new life. The leader saw his resolve and began his training. For 30 days, he went out with a church leader and his wife, simply watching what they did. Immediately, God began to confirm Hussein's call. As they walked into a house where they were ministering, the daughter in the family began to cry. When she calmed down, she told them that the night before, she saw Christ in her dream. And he led her to a table where she sat down with 3 people. And now, those same 3 people had come into her home. For her, it was confirmation of the truth of the gospel. For Hussein, it was confirmation that God had called him and would bless his ministry. It's heavy, bro.
That's super heavy.
Alright, so we are done with the reading for this week. And I know we did it a little bit differently. Normally we do the verse in front of the reading, but now we're going to do the verse.
And today's verse is from Matthew 14, and we are going to be, well, I should say verses from Matthew 14. Yeah. We are going to be reading verses 30 through 32. I'll read this from the AMP, and then she'll read from the NLT, and then we'll go over this verse and see what we're looking at and how we're looking at and how we can compare it and see the difference. So, verse 30, Matthew 14 says, "But when he saw the effects of the wind, he was frightened, and he began to sink. And he cried out, 'Lord, save me!' Immediately Jesus extended his hand and caught him, saying to him, 'O you of little faith, why did you doubt?' And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased.
So, but when he saw the strong wind and the waves, he was terrified and began to sink. "Save me, Lord," he shouted. Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. "You have so little faith," Jesus said. "Why did you doubt me?" And of course, this is referencing to the time where Peter walked on the water towards Jesus and then got scared from the waves and the wind.
Correct. So, there's a lot of times where we start a lot of things with good intentions, and sometimes they just don't go planned accordingly, or the plan kind of messes up. This doesn't mean that we have failed. It doesn't mean anything, but our faith does falter in these moments. When Peter was going through the water, when he called out to Jesus and asked Jesus to really prove it was him, I don't think this was necessarily a testing of God, because we know that we're not supposed to do that. And it wasn't a testing of God. After you continue reading on, you see that it wasn't a testing of God, and more of, he was definitely scared. But I think it was more of a quick, spontaneous reaction to the call of faith. He went out on the water, which, in all honesty, with the way that we are today, I don't think many of us would have that type of courage, that we would have that type of faith to even,
We all know we can't walk on water.
Right, exactly. So, there's a lot of things that stack up against us in life, and when they do stack up against us, the waves, roll and they push and they get harder, and it seems like there becomes more waves when it's like, I thought we already went through this billabong. If you don't know what the billabong is, you definitely should check it out. It's one of the biggest waves in the world, bro. I don't think it's one of the biggest waves in the world, but it's one of the biggest waves ever recorded. I forget the dude who wrote it, but they named it billabong. It's a huge wave. Huge wave. So when these like billabong waves start to come, we can always remember that we do have God, and that God is there, and that he is always with us, and Jesus will always take care of us and provide for us what we truly need. And he truly knows how to help us. Is there something that God might be calling you to do?
Important question.
And I know it feels like sometimes it's nerve-wracking, it's scary, you know what I'm saying? Like, you might have some fear over it, you might be being called to help out in the church, or help out in the community, or, do something new that, maybe even teach. That might be what God's calling you to do. You might even be teaching, but when these moments happen, there are a lot of times where we're fearful, like we read in the story with Hussein. We see a similarity within Peter and Hussein. Once he had realized, like, oh man, this is Jesus.
This is the way.
This is the truth. This is the way. This is the life. You know what I'm saying? He went head first into it like a trap song. You know what I'm saying?
I sold everything.
He said, "Back off. I'm gonna take all of you on." So. And that's what he did, and the same thing Peter did, is afterwards he really showed his faith, and he got to experience a really, really cool moment of how wonderful and gracious God is, as well as seeing and experiencing another moment of God's power. Like that is the most important thing. And that's another similarity that we see within Hussein and Peter in these two stories. I can see 100% why this verse was chosen when it comes to Hussein's story, because it's a miraculous thing. It shows how wonderful God is. I mean, Peter walked on water, bruh. Like, Hussein was about to like off himself, like, come on, bro. And then God stepped in like, hey, yo, I'm coming into town, homie. God's like, hey, don't do that just yet. I got something in the works. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been working my hand. I've been painting your picture over here, because you are God's masterpiece. And he's like, I've been painting Hussein's picture over here. And, this picture involves this guy who's going to bring you the New Testament, a little pocketbook. He reads it and he doesn't quite understand it. You know what I'm saying? Same exact thing with Peter. He didn't quite understand it. Same exact thing with a lot of us. There's a lot of things that we're being called to do and we just don't understand it. And the one thing that I can say when it comes to that call of, you know, maybe doing something like we spoke about, helping out the community, working in the church, you know, it's scared because we're scared of change. We as human beings are scared of change. We get comfortable in our, you know, environment and we enjoy being in, you know, that comfortability of what we already know. And it's sometimes, and a lot of the times, more often than not, very difficult to give up that old life.
Yes,
And
it is.
when we do give up that old life, that old state of comfort, whoa,
Technical difficulties.
foul on the play. Okay, when we do give up that old life and that state of mind, we are when we struggle to give up that old life and that state of mind, we're wrestling with God on what He's asking us to do. We're wrestling with those waves, and we're missing out every single time on the further we put it off. I heard one time that delayed obedience is still disobedience. And when we put it off, there's a possibility in this moment where we might not get the opportunity that God was trying to give us in the first place, you know. And so we should wholeheartedly go boldly to the throne of grace and trust in God, trust that He's going to, you know, do His plan, because His plan for you is the best way. He knows what He wants for you, and He's never going to lead you down a path that's going to destroy you or hurt you. I don't think that that's how God works. The last thing that I wanted to touch on again with what we were talking about, and I'm going to read this from here. This was a really great point that we had discovered when we were going over all of this, on what Peter got to experience with how awesome God's power is, or get to experience that moment. So we kind of already went over it, but I'm going to read this off, and we'll get into a prayer and we'll let you guys go, you know. So it says, in Matthew 14, keep in mind that Peter, once again, was not challenging God. That's not what he was doing by asking if it was Jesus, but instead, Peter was the only one in the boat that had that act of faith, like we spoke about. He was the only one that got to experience a unusual demonstration of God's power, like a whole freaking moment, bro. Like,
he got to walk on water.
Yeah, he got to walk on water, bro.
Like,
and then watch God be like, "Hey, yo, winds, stop it."
that's a truly incredible moment.
Right, that's beautiful. Do you have something to add?
No, I was just agreeing. Like, that's an incredible moment. Like, to witness, to hear about. Like,
yeah, absolutely, it's beautiful. It really is. So, this is the reason why I wanted to touch back over this. Though he got to experience an unusual demonstration of God's power, when Peter started to sink, it was because he took his eye off of the prize. He took his eye off of Jesus. He took his eye.
Doubts
get
in the way of his faith.
Right, exactly. It's like when you're I don't know if any of you played T-ball. If you did, let me know down in the comments, as well as, you know, if God might be calling you to do something. Let me know. I want to hear you guys' story as well, as much as we're hearing everybody else's story. But with T-ball, or with Little Leagues, whichever way you want to, you know, whichever one you played. I played both of them, or I only played Little Leagues. I didn't play both of them. There's one thing that they always teach you, especially in baseball. Everybody's heard it. It's a common cliche. It's something like a mantra: keep your eye on the ball. You know what I'm saying? Peter failed to keep his eye on the ball at that time. It didn't mean that he failed. It didn't mean that his time it was over in the ministry. It didn't mean that Jesus was going to cast him off. That's not how that works. Not at all. And I mean, if you don't believe me, go look at John 15. And John 15 will truly tell you straight up, you're a part of the vine. Whether you fall or come back, bro, you still a part of the main root. That's who Jesus is for you. He loves you. He cares for you. He's always going to be there for you. He's never going to leave you. He's never going to forsake you. He's never not going to love you. No, never, no, never, no, never. As my good friend would say, you know who you are. Okay, so it didn't mean that Peter had failed. It didn't mean that because he took his eyes off of Jesus, he had and feared the strong winds and the huge waves around him, that his faith was gone. That's not what it is. His faith wavered, but when he realized he was vulnerable, what did he do? He called out for Jesus, which is what we're asked to do, which is what we're supposed to do. Trust in him, right?
Because Jesus is always near you, and he's the only one who knows how to help you.
Right. We might not be able to walk on water. We might not be able to, do a lot of things in life. But when these trials and tribulations do come, I do believe a lot of you have really gained your gangster card, because y'all thugged it out, bro. We have as well. Everybody has, you definitely thugged it out to a point where we got to see new experiences. Though the trials and tribulations, though the moments that were painful, we did get to experience something. We gained the experiential knowledge, just like he did. When these windstorms of life and these waves just beat us down and become brutal, we in these situations, and we see things like that around us as well, we can look to Christ. We can always go to Christ. Jesus knows how to help you, and he will help you. He will never leave you. He will never forsake you. He will never not love you. You are his, and he loves you, and he wants to help you. And when we go through these moments, and when we fear, and then we start to sink like Peter did, and because of the winds, because of the waves, we can remember that we need to focus on God's power rather than our own inadequacies. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have the ability through the power of Jesus Christ.
Amen to that.
The last thing that I want to leave off with, and you should definitely study this verse. It's an awesome verse, Philippians 4:13, which a lot of you know about it. A lot of you know about it, or 4:14, I think it is. 4:13 or 4:14. I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. So, once again, if there is something that God is calling you to do, if there's something deep and profound that you think, you know what I'm saying, or that God is really asking you to do, and you've got a strong pull or a strong will, a strong conviction to do so, definitely do it. Don't wait around. Don't wait around. But I do want to know if God is pulling you or calling you to do something. Like I said, maybe ministry, maybe teach, maybe help out the community a little bit more. I want to hear your story. We want to hear your story.
We want to hear the stories.
We want to hear your story. We want to hear your lifestyle.
We want to know things.
Lifestyle. So, God does have an awesome plan for you.
Always.
Don't wait.
Don't wait.
Don't hold off on that. If God's calling you to do something, definitely check it out.
God's not calling you to do something terrible. God's calling you to do something amazing and great.
Or his masterpiece. He just wants to continue painting your picture, bro. He's doing
prayer.
hundreds of millions of them. So, for the prayer, I want to
voice kind of caught.
I want to leave off with a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you today and ask that you give all of those who are discovering your calling for them to have the wisdom and strength to be able to pull these people closer to you, as well as deepen their faith and get closer with you. Again, we just ask that you give them a strong will and the strength and cheerful heart.
Yeah, help guide them. Help open their hearts to the guidance.
To guide others, as well as deepen their relationship, like we said. Just be there with them. In Jesus' precious name, amen. As always,
God bless you all.
And
And deuce.